Ever puzzled what it's wont to paintings in the back of the gates of a royal palace? The British royal circle of relatives is steeped in way of life and grandeur, and their team of workers are bound by using some of the most weird and maximum mind-blowing guidelines possible. Yeah, starting at 6:30 within the morning, after which at the quit of the day you communicate approximately 11:30, perhaps nighttime, and you are making a couple of hours off inside the afternoon if you're fortunate. From the manner the staff walks to what they are able to or can't say, those protocols make sure their photo and legacy stay perfect. Join us as we dive into 20 weird guidelines that royal staff need to comply with. Insights in an effort to leave you each greatly surprised and fascinated. 20. Avoid carpet center. Imagine this: you are a royal servant on foot through the grand halls of Buckingham Palace, and also you all of a sudden comprehend you cannot walk inside the middle of the carpet. Sounds peculiar, right? But that's one of the most weird and strictest policies royal group of workers ought to comply with. Well, it's all approximately retaining the perfection and symmetry of the royal palace. The carpets, often hand-woven with complicated designs, have a center that really is considered sacred and ought to stay untouched. Servants are required to walk around the edges, keeping off the center of the carpet at all costs. It might also appear weird, however, it's about admire for the royal household and its sacred traditions. The personnel must circulate in a way that does not disrupt the faultless presentation of the palace's interior. It's an unwritten rule that displays the pressure of royal protocol. No depend how small or extraordinary the request, it need to be observed. Yes, even when it is only a carpet. 19. Prince Charles tea. Ritual. When it comes to tea, Prince Charles demands not anything much less than absolute perfection, and there aren't any exceptions. The royal workforce must adhere to a set of particularly strict and bizarre guidelines, and failure to do so should spell catastrophe. Forget tea bags. Loose tea is non-negotiable. His butlers are anticipated to degree exactly 1 teaspoon in step with cup, with a further for the pot. And do not even reflect on consideration on guessing the water temperature. A thermometer is mandatory. 70 ranges Celsius for green tea and a precise 100 ranges Celsius for Earl Grey or English breakfast. Brewing time? The personnel cannot have the funds for it to get it incorrect. 3 mins for green tea, 5 for black. Once brewed, the ritual takes a bizarre flip. Organic honey is introduced first, then the tea, an order that ought to never be reversed, and if the teacups take care of is even slightly misaligned, it's an instantaneous redo. The deal would have to face proper, with the teaspoon tucked smartly below. While some might also recollect this meticulous interest to element commendable, others view it as blatantly controversial. The strictness of those tea-making rituals has sparked frustration in the various royal body of workers, lots of whom experience like they may be being held hostage through arbitrary regulations, but for the royal family it's just every other day inside the palace. For the group of workers, it is a hard, never-ending sport of perfection or punishment. Every cup of tea is a conflict for perfect execution at all expenses. Royal nanny emotional detachment. Suppose you are a nanny, however, not simply any nanny, a royal nanny. You take care of the destiny king or queen, but you are no longer allowed to shape an emotional bond. Sounds harsh, proper? The rule of emotional detachment is one of the maximum uncommon and challenging factors of being a royal nanny. Unlike a regular nanny who frequently forms near, nurturing relationships with kids, a royal nanny have to hold distance emotionally and bodily. Why? It's all approximately protecting the royal family's picture. The nanny's position is to be a consistent, reliable presence, however, by no means a pal. While an ordinary nanny would possibly rejoice milestones with the child, a royal nanny must be professional and detached, retaining emotions out of the equation. The emotional toll? It's large. This rule keeps royal nannies in a cold, professional quarter wherein affection is forbidden, making their task a ways more odd than maximum would ever consider. 17. The Queen's cereal breakfast rule. When it comes to breakfast, even something as simple as cereal isn't as straightforward as it seems for the Queen. The royal group of workers have to comply with a very particular and alternatively bizarre set of rules when serving Her Majesty this apparently ordinary dish. First, the cereal have to be served dry with no milk till the Queen herself comes to a decision when to add it. But the actual shocker, the milk has to be poured from a silver jug, in no way from a carton. And if the Queen prefers to consume it with fruit, the staff ought to make sure it is sliced just right, without a piece larger than an ideal bite-sized chew. 16. The royal staff social media ban. In today's virtual age, it is hard to assume a world without social media. But for royal staff, it's a strict no-pass region. While most human beings tweet, post, and proportion their day-by-day lives online, royal employees, specifically people who interact at once with the royal circle of relatives, are prohibited from having private social media accounts. In a global wherein all people's life is publicized, royal staff are required to stay in total digital secrecy. The cause is straightforward. To keep the pristine picture of the monarchy, social media evaluations, trending subjects, or even innocent selfies could by accident leak royal secrets, stir scandals, or spark conflicts of hobby. So the royal family enforces an ironclad rule: no private social media ever. The concept of online presence is so tightly controlled that personnel must act as impartial and visible figures in the public eye with no posts, no reviews concerning work, and no exceptions. In the normal global, wherein social media is vital for constructing careers and personal brands for royal group of workers, although it's a sacrifice of identity, their every word, online or off, could be considered as a potential breach of royal duty. No tweets, no Facebook posts, now not even an Instagram tale. Everything ought to be buttoned as much as defend the circle of relatives as photograph. Violate this rule and you are out. Simple as that. In a world where social media is often a defining part of our lives, the royal family's bizarre guidelines may seem old, even controlling. But for folks who serve the monarchy, maintaining silence online isn't always only a joke, it's a way of life. 15. No vacuuming inside the morning, no vacuuming in the morning. Sounds unusual proper, but inside the royal family, the sound of a vacuum cleaner earlier than noon is exactly prohibited. Why? The palace staff have to follow this bizarre rule as it's believed that the sound of a vacuum disrupts the peace of the morning, an unwelcome noise that might deliver awful good fortune, or spoil the serene environment it truly is intended to surround the royal-owned family's start to the day. Instead, the group of workers are required to attend till after 12 p.m. to do their cleansing duties. Can you consider? No early morning tidying, no brief fix to the one's dusty corners. What's even more dazzling is how the royal body of workers nonetheless manages to keep the whole thing smooth and spotless without breaking this ancient rule. Their dedication to their activity is definitely awesome. 14. No first names, royal titles only. Another most eldritch rule for royal personnel is to usually address the royals by their formal titles. Your Majesty for the King, Your Royal Highness for others, no exceptions. They cannot say, "Hey Charles" or "Hello Kate." Even in non-public, informality is a breach of protocol. This formality is deeply rooted in royal lifestyle, reinforcing the hierarchy and appreciation due to the monarchy. If you slip up, it is able to result in reprimands or worse. For new body of workers, specific training ensures the precise titles are usually used. The rule is straightforward. Addressing the royals with their first names is honestly forbidden. 13. The hidden sacrifice of royal group of workers. Royal team of workers regularly lead lives of extreme isolation, prioritizing the demands of the royal family over non-public connections. With grueling hours, consistent journey, and the unyielding schedule of the royals, staff hardly ever have time to attend own family gatherings, birthdays, or personal milestones. This sacrifice results in feelings of loneliness and emotional distance as their very own lives are put on preserve in provider of the monarchy. The consistent demand to be on call approach team of workers pass over out on the very things that make life meaningful: family moments, friendships, and personal achievements. In the shadow of royal duties, the private lives of body of workers can fade into obscurity, leaving them isolated in an international of unacknowledged sacrifice. 12. Always walk in the back of the royals. Staff should constantly walk in the back of the royals. In the presence of the maximum effective circle of relatives inside the US of A, the staff's role is to make sure they remain the center of interest literally. No count the event or how important the body of workers might be, they must usually preserve a deferential distance. Even in a procession, whether they may be the most senior team of workers or the most up-to-date recruit, they stroll slightly at the back of the royals. It's all approximately keeping the hierarchy. The royals should constantly be seen as the important thing to discern, and this rule enforces that. Walking in front of or even along a royal would be taken into consideration an offense to royal decorum and a contravention of the strict royal order. While it sounds bizarre, it's a symbol of the cautiously curated power dynamics that govern royal life. 11. The royal team of workers' silent role. While working in a palace, the royal group of workers' task is to vanish literally. One of the most unusual policies royal group of workers need to observe is they can't be visible or heard. Their number one position is to be so unobtrusive that they sincerely fade into the heritage, becoming nearly invisible. Whether it is all through royal occasions or non-public moments, personnel need to circulate silently and successfully without drawing any interest to themselves. This rule is all approximately retaining the royal picture. The awareness need to constantly be at the royals, no longer the people serving them. It's like being an extra on a movie set, gift but unseen. Any sound or any movement that disrupts this quiet ecosystem is taken into consideration a breach of protocol. From strolling in smooth slippers to keeping conversations to a whisper, each motion is meticulously managed. In the world of royalty, silence is golden and workforce are anticipated to encompass it to perfection. 10. Confidentiality contracts. Many human beings are unaware that running as royal workforce calls for signing a settlement that mandates entire confidentiality approximately all subjects. Royal Team of Workers contributors are required to signal particularly strict confidentiality agreements that restrict them from discussing something associated with their paintings. This consists of the whole lot, from private conversations with the royal circle of relatives to even the maximum normal information of palace lifestyles. Breaking this rule is extra than just a violation. It's a fireable offense that might lead to felony motion. But it would not stop the royal workforce from being forbidden from even mentioning their activity to pals or family. They stay in a bubble of secrecy, and any breach can result in severe results. Everything, from their interactions with the royals to the most trivial palace gossip, is off limits. It's one of the most eldritch and most extreme regulations Royal Team of Workers have to observe, and it ensures the family's privateness is guarded with unmatched stress. 9. Royal dress code secrets and techniques.